Hi, I'm David Ware with the Rotary Club of Canada 1. I'm the treasurer. I reside in Cochrane, Alberta, just west of Calgary.
Jim Ferguson.
Hi everybody, I'm Jim Ferguson. I live at Skeleton Lake, Alberta, which is about 2 hours northeast of Edmonton, Alberta. I'm a past president and charter member of the Rotary Club of Canada 1. And it's really nice seeing so many different and new faces at this meeting. Fantastic. So I look forward to a great meeting.
And Jim is very modest because he is going to be the first district governor in a couple of years who is a member of an E-Club. I don't think there has been anybody else in the world for that matter yet. So as always, Rotarians are unique, and Jim is even more unique. Next, Jean Jacula, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Sean Jacula. I'm on the panel though, so do you want me to hold off?
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you, Sean. John Kay, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm John Kay, and I'm director of the E-Club of Canada 1. I'm located in Blaine, Washington, which is, I can look out my window and see Canada anyway, so.
Okay, please turn off your microphone if you're not speaking. We're hearing some background noises, and that is interfering. As I'm a host, I can turn everybody's microphone off. I don't want to do that unless I actually have to. Doug Dyer, where are you today?
Well, thank you, Peter. I'm a charter member of the Rotary Club Canada 1, a past president. I'm currently residing in Merida, Mexico, but I'm kind of hard to keep up with because I'm a full-time nomad. Yeah,
because he just house sits all over, and he's going to have a tough time next year when he goes to Spain and Portugal to stay awake.
That's right.
Lynn Tarnowski, welcome, Ms. President.
Hello, I'm Lynn Tarnowski. I'm in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, president of the Rotary E-Club, and I welcome you all here tonight.
Thank you, Lynn. Gerard, please introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm from France, from Normandy, the Club of Normandy. And we are, I'm sorry for my English, but because I'm not practicing very much, really. But I'm very proud to be with you. It's tonight for me. Okay, it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Good.
I will, nice. You will like Martin, who is in the UK. Like Martin, who will keep you awake. Okay, next, Cecilia.
Good night. My name is Cecilia Rienzi. I'm past president of Rotary Club of Uruguay. I don't speak English well, but I like participate of reunion.
Thank you, Cecilia. Which country are you in?
Uruguay.
You're in Uruguay. Welcome to our meeting. All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce, you're next.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Bruce. I am from Surrey, British Columbia, and I can almost see John from my back window. And it's a beautiful sight.
And Delvin, who can you see?
I can see all of you. It's Delvin joining you all from what was today's sunny Chilliwack, British Columbia.
Thank you and welcome. Catherine, can you turn on your camera and turn off your mic?
Turn off my mic?
No.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Catherine Bonifin, formerly of the One World Rotary E-Club in California, recently a founder of the E-Club of Social Innovation in Ontario, and been a Rotarian for some years. My passion in Rotary is the Peace Fellowship, and I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years. And I have been a Rotarian for 30 years And I'm going to the convention, and many of our members have breakouts, and we're running a summit and retreat for the Ending Ultra Poverty Group. So hello everybody, I live in Queensland, Australia.
All right, thank you. There's a couple of continents missing, but we're getting closer. Marlene, can you please unmute and turn on your camera at all and introduce yourself?
How do I turn on the camera? How do I turn on the camera?
There's in the left bottom stats start video, but please introduce yourself.
Okay, hi,
Yeah,
I'm Marlene.
there
There you are, there I am. It's kind of foggy. I'm Marlene Gargalack. I'm past district governor of District 5960, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I am the advisor for the Rotary E-Club 5960, Wisconsin, Minnesota, USA.
All right, welcome Marlene. And
I'll turn on the lights.
next, Elena. Hello, yes.
Hello, I am in Manzanillo, Mexico. I'm a neighbor of Ellie and Romero, and I'm a visitor tonight.
Welcome. And you're
Thank
a
you.
neighbor, are you a neighbor in Mexico or in British Columbia?
I'm a neighbor tonight in Mexico.
In Mexico, welcome.
Thank you.
Lindsay. Yeah, we'll see you. Yep. But no voice, no sound. Lindsay, no sound. Okay, I'll get back to you, Lindsay, once you have the sound figured out. We're going on to M line, it says. Could you turn on the camera and unmute?
I am Mike Lyons. I am just starting a Rotary Club in Steinbach, Manitoba.
Mike, good to see you. I'm glad you guys are moving forward. That is awesome. Another club in Canada. Lindsay, how are you making out? Okay, Kirk Anderson, can you turn off your mic? All right.
Hi, Kirk Anderson. I'm with Marlene with the District 5960 in the United States. And we are just less than a year in with the Club of District 5960.
All right, welcome as well. Catherine, can you turn on your camera and turn off your microphone and turn it on? Unmute it.
Was that me? Because I've already spoken.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, because things are flickering around on my screen. Last one is Lindsay. Lindsay, how are you making out?
I think we're good.
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am from the E-Club of Canada 1. I've been a part of 5370 since 2011. I was in Vancouver, British Columbia last year, and this year I'm in Ontario, in Toronto. So, hello.
Okay. Well, I think I have more or less had everybody, and I'm going to turn over the meeting to Ellie, who will start with a PowerPoint presentation by sharing her screen, and then her and Doug will do the rest of the meeting. Enjoy.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Wow, we have great attendance tonight. Tonight, we'll be talking about the next generation. Much has changed over the past 113 years. Since Rotary's inception, we have advanced fourth generation. The changes of the first generation, of the first century, however, were not nearly as drastic as those that we have seen in the last 5 years. In order to understand the current and plan for the future, we should know a little bit about the past. So I will give you a little bit of history. Rotary starts in Chicago in 1905. By 1914, there are 123 clubs with 15,000 Rotarians, but no women allowed. After 10 years, Rotary is almost bankrupt and funds need to be raised. A year later, the very first non-English speaking club is formed. King George V learns about Rotary and wants to see it spread out over the entire British Empire. Well, he got more than that. Several overseas clubs are chartered. Rotary clubs in communist regime nations are disbanded. Several restart in the 50s and after, and Cuba is still not active as of today. Rotarians are concerned about Rotary's future and decide whether to emphasize the importance of individual action or see Rotary largely expressed to corporate action. They insist that Rotary as an organization must do something. Women, including the spouse of the club president, are not permitted to attend any Rotary meetings. But youth is now the focus of attention, and an Interact Club is started in Melbourne, Florida. The name came from international and action. Much later, another youth program grows into a major Rotary-sponsored organization called Rotaract. The Rotary Club of Duarte, California, admits 3 women, causing their charter to be revoked by Rotary International. After 11 years of court proceedings, the US Supreme Court rules that Rotary clubs may not exclude women from membership on the basis of gender. Sylvia Whitlock of the Rotary Club of Duarte is elected as the first female club president in Rotary's history. Did somebody comment? Okay. There are now 20,000 female Rotarians worldwide, but it takes another 10 years before they take on leadership roles at district and international level. Things are starting to change. Many who resisted accepting women into Rotary are now proud of our female leaders, giving Rotary a different image. And after Anne Matthews, several more female leaders followed. Canadian leaders in particular, Jennifer Jones and Dean Roars being 2 of those amazing women. Meanwhile, the younger generation is starting to take on leadership roles and doing a fantastic job. At the age of 30, Matt Dowling of the Rotary Club of Connellsville, Pennsylvania, becomes the youngest district governor in the world. And a 22-year-old is leading his club in England as president, bringing younger members with him into the club. This month is Rotaract's 50th anniversary. There are now over 9,500 Rotaract clubs worldwide, and Interact is active in 133 countries. Clubs such as Youth Act and Kinderact have established in various communities. They're not just official RI programs, but I think that's just a matter of time. Today, 52% of the world's population is under 30. The wave of change is coming, and we have the opportunity to serve that wave. Many of these young people have the potential to become future leaders, just like those 100 years ago. Remember the founders of Rotary and their followers? They were all in their 30s and 40s. So why is it so important to address this? Well, let me show you. The average age of Rotarians globally is 58. In Australia and the UK, it's over 70. And women still only account 22% of membership. But many of your younger members struggle with the rules and long-standing traditions, such as the singing of the national anthem or a 1.5 hour long meeting. They want to see change, and they will. In 2016, we start to see real change. I can't look at my chat box, sorry. More opportunities for the next generation. From now on, we can set most of our own rules and allow members to serve the way that works best for them, which is important for our future members. All we need to do is take advantage of the opportunity. But why the drastic change? Was the panic button pushed? Possibly. Let's look at some of the statistics. Between 2013 and 2017, membership worldwide went up 4%. That's the good news. The not so good news is that in our zone alone, we experienced a decline of 1%. Over an 8-year period, we lost our entire organization of 1.2 million members. Well, yes, we did gain 1.2 million members, but in different geographical areas like Africa and India, where the economy has actually been improved. So what did we do wrong? Should we be focusing more on the importance of the individual Rotarians? Have we been focusing too much on rules, policies, goals, and achievement? How are we doing recognizing those who join Rotary as our customers? Our members are the core of our club and the main reason Rotary exists. Perhaps if we change our way of thinking, we may make Rotary more attractive to others, especially those much younger than us. Then we can be assured that the next generation will continue with our work. But we must invite them, and we must shape up on our customer service practices. It's our responsibility as Rotarians. Let me tell you what I learned about the younger generation during my research of the last 2 months. They want to change their communities. They want to build a solid network and learn from people like you and I. They want opportunities to connect with each other. They want to bond. It is human nature. If we create opportunities for them to connect, we become part of their lives. And they all become part of our Rotary family. And one by one, we will be able to rebuild our clubs. Do we act on these statistics, or do we carry on the same old way? If we carry on the same old way as we always have, what will happen to our education and literacy projects? Will there be safe drinking water for all? Who will address environment issues, slavery, or human trafficking? Do you think polio will be eradicated? For more than 100 years, it has been Rotarians who have made these changes possible. So let's make it our. I ask each and every one of you to take action and make change happen. Let's make Rotary great again. I'm not wearing a red hat. So tonight, we have a panel of 5 volunteers who are eager to speak to us about what they think Rotary could do to make membership more attractive for their generation. We have given each of them a number of questions, which they are prepared to discuss with you. And you will also have an opportunity to ask questions from them. Past President Doug Dyer will lead this discussion, And as soon as I stop sharing my screen, yes, Doug, will you please introduce our panelists and facilitate this discussion?
Well, thank you very much, Ellie, and good evening all. My first order of business is to, from the heart, really thank Ellie and Peter for their ongoing commitment to our fellowship assemblies. They put so much time and effort into it, and they really, truly lead our club by example. We have one of the best Rotary clubs in the world, and it's because people like Ellie and Peter. And so I thank them, and I'm very honored to be the mentor here, or the monitor here this evening. As Elliot mentioned, the participants had been sent out a questionnaire, and I've had a chance to look at some of their answers, and it's pretty exciting. We've got a very interesting group of people here. They're very engaged in their own ways, and I'm looking for a very learning experience tonight from listening to these panelists. Ellie mentioned that we're on a wave, and I think any E-Club is certainly on the wave of change in Rotary, and this E-Club in particular wants to stay on that wave and make sure that we're adjusting to the changes. There's lots of new innovation. Rotary International is giving us lots of flexibility, and part of this initiative tonight was to see how we can positioned to be on top of that wave. So I will be quiet, but the format will be that I'll introduce the panelists. I have a few questions for them, and I'd like them all to address the question, and then we will open it up to our members and guests. And so if you have a question, jot it down. There'll be time to engage, and hopefully at the end of this meeting we've got some new direction, and we can say, look at this opportunity that we have, and how can we get more people involved in Rotary overall. So with that, I'd like Andrea Martinez. Andrea, and I'm going to ask the five panelists to tell us where they're based, if they're currently a Rotarian, and what kind of community involvement have they been in the past, and just a minute or two on that. And I'll start with Andrea Martinez.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. My name is Andrea, and can you hear me? Or yes, okay. Yeah, so I live in Austin, Texas. I was raised in Brownsville, Texas, and so lived in Texas my whole life. I am not a Rotarian. I never heard about what Rotary is until last week when I volunteered with Project Amigo, and I met Ellie and Ramiro there, and they told us about Rotary a little bit. And just seeing that almost every other group volunteering there was also a Rotary club. So that was my first actual experience with Rotary, and current community involvement. So I work at a campus ministry at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm in charge of many things, but one of them is service activities. So I just coordinate service activities with the students here. So we volunteer with the nursing home pretty consistently and at the local food bank, and we have a couple of organizations that are that cater to immigrant and refugee communities, and we volunteer with them pretty often too. So I guess that's my involvement.
Thanks for joining us, Andrea. We look forward to your input this evening. Next we have Marcella Roberts. Please introduce yourself, Marcella.
I am Marcella Roberts. I live in Portland, Oregon. I'm a former Rotarian. I was a Rotarian for a number of years at East Portland Rotary. And currently I volunteer locally various things like
having me here today. I am currently for the next few months based out of Edmonton, Alberta. I am currently a Rotaractor. My community involvement cannot be summarized in a minute or two, but I'll give you a high level. I founded an Interact Club and did numerous projects locally and internationally during that time in Rotaract, served as a general member and also a board member as the community service chair. So we connected with Ronald McDonald House, Operation Friendship Senior Society, Edmonton Food Bank, iHuman, lots of local organizations on an international scale. Quite a few. I also sit on the Riley North America board of directors. Yeah, I can go into a lot more, but we'll just stop there for now.
Thank you, Haley. It sounds like we could just do a meeting with you. Next would be Sean Jakula. Sean, introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Sean Jakula. I'm currently a member of the Vermilion, Alberta Rotary Club in Vermilion, Alberta, just east of Edmonton. I am in Vermilion today, and I've been a member for about 8 years. I sit on the board of directors as the HR individual, so take care of the social media for the club.
Thank you, Sean, and glad to have you here tonight. And finally, on our panelists, we have Rachel. It's Boudreau, isn't it, Rachel? Or?
It is Boudreau, yes. Bruins is my maiden name.
Okay. Tell us about yourself, Rachel.
So I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. I've done quite a number of different volunteer things over the past, many years. I chartered a Rotaract club at my university out east in Halifax, where I was the president at first, and then I moved on to be the head of several different committees as well. Sat on the board there for a while too, essentially until I moved away from Halifax and came out here. So I volunteered at a lot of homeless shelters. One of the main things that I did in Halifax was also work with victim services with the police department. So I volunteered with them for a number of years, providing support for victims of domestic violence as well as any other victims of crime where the police were involved in. Currently, I predominantly volunteer with my local church. I do a lot of nursery things in Kids Zone and help out with any of their extra activities that they might need some support with. So that's currently my my main piece of action.
Thank you, Rachel. And again, thank you to all the panelists. We're looking forward to hearing what your thoughts are about Rotary and e-clubs and just in general your experiences in your community. So I'm going to start the questioning off, and again, if our other members and guests have questions, jot them down, and we'll open the floor up a little bit later. But panelists, do you have a certain passion for a need in your communities? Maybe I'll start with Marcella.
In my community, there's lots of opportunities to volunteer in different ways, but my passion was probably more work-driven at the moment. I don't have a ton of extra time to volunteer, but when I was in Rotary, I'd prefer to do the hands-on projects. You know, when we'd have big events, we did a lot of stuff with foster kids and whatnot that I liked. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
And Haley, it sounds like you give a lot of time to volunteer projects. Is there something specific that you are really, if you could pick one, what would it be?
Yeah, I've been involved in quite a few different volunteering projects over the years. I think that my most passionate come from an overarching theme. I have two that I hold to a very high regard. One is gender equality, and the second is quality education. And I think that I kind of say that those are overarching themes because they can be addressed locally, internationally, to any scale. And that's a huge commitment, and it's one that every person plays a role in. And so I think so for example, one of my I don't want to say favorite because they've all been my favorite, but something to tie into that, we I brought this to my Rotaract Club, saying that I wanted to do a project to some degree combating education, literacy rates, things like that. And so we originally started from a grand scale of it internationally. How would we go about doing this? And then we also brought in a local approach to it as well. So we did a book drive for an inner city elementary school here in Edmonton, as well as kind of raising awareness for literacy rates internationally. So yeah, it was an educational piece. Oh, I guess that's a play on words. An educational piece for our club, and also served our local community simultaneously.
Great, thank you. For the needs in your
I think right now our actual club is having, we're searching for that passion. We just finished quite a large fundraiser for senior housing in our community. We hosted, I chair, it's called Harvest Gala. It's a fundraiser we host every 2 years in early November, which we raised over $85,000 for our project. Our club initially pledged $75,000 to the event, and we actually upped it due to the success of the event. So that's, I think, one thing right now our club is looking at is our projects, what we can call our flagship projects for fundraisers. We're actually searching for those right now.
Interesting. Oh, good. We're glad you're here. Thanks, Sean. Rachel, you're next up. What passions, what needs in your community do you see as a passion for you?
For me, it's definitely victims of domestic violence. I'm a social worker by trade, so I've done a lot of research in that area and focused a significant chunk working in the field as well as volunteering. And as much as I haven't been able to really dive into it here in Edmonton, I just moved back here a year and a half ago. It's something that I focused a lot on out east, and it's a definite need, ranging from local domestic violence to the human trafficking piece as well, because that often coincides a little bit too.
Thank you. I'm hearing a thread here. Anybody noticing it? Andrea, would you like to give us some thoughts on what gets you excited as far as need in the community?
Sure. I think just like I grew up in a very low-income community. It's one of the poorest counties in the United States, and just transitioning from that to Austin, where it's a slightly more affluent community, like it was a very jarring experience for me, very jarring transition. And so that kind of launched me into doing more research into how race and poverty are tied together, and just kind of that also is tied to education, because education is usually like the best way to get people to transition out of poverty. So just kind of like Haley was saying about just efficient education and things like that is kind of where my biggest passions are, I would say.
Interesting. I can just sort of add to those comments that I've had the opportunity to travel a fair bit, and it always seems to come down, wherever we go, it always seems to come back to, for me anyways, is education and gender equality. These are issues that every community and probably every part of the world deal with. If we could find a solution there, that would go a long ways to address all the other side issues. So it's really it sounds. I just heard that from virtually all of you that were speaking. Is there a what do you get? I'm going to start with Haley this time. We'll work our way through. What's the reward for working? What's your own personal reward for being involved? Like, what is there? Is there a juice, or is there just the satisfaction, or we're all Rotarians and we all contribute in our own way and for our own reasons. And I'm just really interested to know what the panelists, what is it?
Yeah,
why is it?
Yeah, great question. And I hate to be so cliche, but it really is just the satisfaction of the project that you're doing. As we're all philanthropists, humanitarians, volunteers, we don't get paid for the work we do. But if we did, we would all be millionaires. And I think it's just, it's those moments when you finish your project and you give whatever you accumulated, or you finished it, and then you look at the recipients of that, and they have no words, and it's just that moment where it's just so incredible, and that just fuels it for next time. For example, I was just previously mentioning the book drive that I was leading, and numerous teachers actually reached out to me and said that these kids have never been able to, and they have a library, and we gave them so many books that they were actually giving, each kid was able to take one home, 2 or 3 home for their Christmas break, and then last summer for the summer, and they had never had this opportunity before. And then parents were actually calling into the school of how amazing that was, and how that they were so happy to be able to exchange these books. So it's just those kinds of things that I have taken for granted, that I realize in my community there is a need. And so yeah, it's definitely a satisfaction of sharing your wealth and your power and the gift that you're given.
Very good. I like what you said about, at the end of the project, the participants have no words. I think I've experienced that, where there's so much joy and there's so much love that they just can't, thank you doesn't even come out of their mouths.
That says it all. Yeah.
There you go. And Rachel, what have you experienced as far as your work?
So for me, I think a big part of it, I'm a helper. I've always been. I wouldn't be a social worker if I wasn't, but I always wanted to kind of take that a little bit further. So I've helped a lot of people in my volunteer roles, and you get a lot of kind of joy out of that, and just that satisfaction of like, you know what, I was able to make a difference in that one person's life and enter their story and kind of help shape that. And I have a skill set. I don't necessarily need to always get paid for it. I think that's one of the wonderful ways that we can give back to our community. So that's one of the main reasons. It's I have the training, I have the skill, I want to use it. And sometimes how you use it in your work is great, but adding a little bit extra.
Thank you, Rachel. And Andrea in Austin?
I think the biggest satisfaction for me is kind of seeing people be self-empowered, like knowing that, I feel like the only difference between volunteers and people who are receiving help is opportunity. Like we had opportunity that they didn't. And so being able to give people that opportunity and then them being empowered to just be, to have access to all these things that they didn't before. And sometimes it's something as simple as like, well, I have a meal today, and like, or like I have a job now and I can do, so just that self is what I like to see, that people, like, they don't need us, like they need a little help, and then they can do it on their own. And then, I don't know, just that kind of, that's kind of what I like to see.
Thank you. And Sean?
I think it's a repetitive of what everyone else has said too. For me, I just truly believe that giving back is one of my purposes, and so just to be able to help people out, I'm a true believer in time is so valuable, and if I can offer my time and skills to better other people or better organizations, it's what I feel that I can do, and that's where I try to focus my time towards.
Great, thank you all. Sean, I'm gonna start backwards now, and Sean, you're a Rotarian in Vermilion. Do you have difficulties attending your meetings? Is time an obstacle for you, and time in traffic? And yeah,
absolutely. I think time is one of the biggest issues. And I think that's probably where my biggest guilt is as a Rotarian, is the ability to attend the weekly meetings. A couple of different factors. Our meetings are 7 in the morning on a weekday. Personally, I travel quite a bit, and so whether I'm in this country or not, that's one of my biggest hurdles for sure. So I know I've some familiar faces here. I joined one of your meetings a couple of years ago, and the e-club for my lifestyle is a nice setup, but my concern is losing my local ties, my local involvement as a Rotarian. So I would say that the weekly meetings and our attendance stipulations are a hurdle for sure, and I know that people who are interested in the club, it's a concern to them as well.
All right, thank you, Sean. Andrea, and the rest of you, what would be your biggest obstacle to joining a structured club that say meets every week? Andrea, I'll start with you.
Yeah, personally, for me, it's just kind of, I'm in a weird transitionary place in my life. I'm applying to grad school, so I'll probably be moving in a couple of months to a different city. So I think just that there's just a lot of ambiguity in the future right now is kind of, but I think something that I look for when I move to a new place is a community. So that is something to consider also. But so probably the biggest obstacle might be time and location.
Of course. And Rachel, would your busy life afford a structured organization?
It's difficult, right? Weekly meetings are hard to make time for outside of work. There's also, my partner is a shift worker, for example, so having weekly meetings, if that's the case, can be very difficult because it could decrease the amount of time that we could actually see each other. So the time piece is definitely there. Also, budget. I looked into joining a Rotary Club at one point, and their dues were significantly higher than what I wanted them to be. And I find that especially if you're in the, let's say saving for something, whether it's a wedding or a down payment or something like that, so there's always something else that's taking your
it doesn't change.
I know.
Yeah. Guess what?
Great. The things to look forward to.
Those are life skills. And Haley, you're working. I would ask you, with all the involvement that you have, you must be a wonderful time planner, and you're at your home office a lot, and getting out to a weekly meeting probably not in the cards for you at all.
Yeah, to be honest, I think there's pros and cons to both platforms. However, for the in-person weekly meeting, I think that there's a lot of different strategies you can take to get your members there, as same with the e-club. I think some of the obstacles that I have faced myself and or other fellows would be, I was a student, am not right now, and I'm going to be in a few months. From semester to semester, your class schedule can be incredibly different, and what works for you for one semester might not work for you for the second semester, but your club always has those set times. And so yes, maybe you can commit for such a short time being, but you might not be able to long term. So that might deter some people away from it, thinking if I can't commit to this part, then should I commit in its entirety? And so however, I do think that I also think that location is really big too. I know the dynamic of my Rotaract Club is heavily based on students, and I think that we can all, our assumptions of financial capabilities of that dynamic is transit, and if you can get to it by bus, or if there's parking, and how much would parking cost, and there's lots of different factors that contribute to structured meetings.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Thanks for the enlightenment. Marcella?
When I first joined Rotary, I probably had a lot more time available. So getting to weekly meetings wasn't that much of an issue, but life gets in the way. And over time, especially probably the last year or so that I was there was too many personal things going on in life that were just not getting me to the meetings. And then I felt bad about not going. So the timing is just, it's just got to be right. Work-wise, I'm an independent contractor, so that fluctuates. But I think if you had the flexibility and ability to make things easy, for example, if you couldn't attend a lunch meeting, that you could use an app to check into an online meeting and you'd still get credit for it without having a bunch of rigmarole to go through, would make it a lot more easy. And obviously, it sounds like there's been some changes in the requirements and how much time and attendance and whatnot might have changed since I left Rotary. But it just, like I said, situation just changed over time. So no, I wouldn't want to go back to doing weekly meetings. Not at this point.
No, I don't think any of the E-Club members would either. No. That's why we're doing. I just want to. On a side note, I'm going to open this up in a second for further discussion, but I have my delightful mother-in-law visiting from Montreal here in Mexico. She's 83 years old. I told her that I was going on to a Rotary meeting tonight on the computer. And her first question to me was, would there be women on the meeting? I said, yeah. She goes, but I thought it was a Rotary meeting. She says, there's going to be actually women on the committee. Yeah, Mom, it's okay. So that image still exists, doesn't it? And Ellie's presentation earlier, we're not that far removed from that image, but when you take a closer look, you find out what Rotary clubs are doing, what E-clubs are doing, and what we're prepared to do, and that we've left that at the starting gate a long time ago, but I think we still wrestle with it sometimes. So welcome to the E-Club. We're pretty, again, this wave that we believe that was alluded to, and we've had discussions recently that we can take this in any direction we want. Our E-Club is just 5 years old, and we sort of built it around what our needs are. And those needs are changing, and we're seeing other people's needs, and we're hoping through panels like this that we'll be able to continue to evolve, and attract more young members and a variety of people from all over the world. So I'm going to shut up and ask the attendees if they have any questions, and just take it. The first person that unmutes himself will be, we'll just go in order, but if you have questions, just unmute yourself and we'll turn it over.
I have a question for Lindsay, because Lindsay is a member of our club, and she is actually in that same area, and I understand she has difficulty attending our meeting. Perhaps Lindsay would be willing to talk a little bit about her obstacles to be a bigger part of our club.
Thank you, Ellie. I think that for myself, I would acknowledge that I'm in it's probably circumstantial for myself anyway. In the last 2 years, I've relocated twice. So it's been a very abrupt change twice. I didn't think that it would be such an abrupt change, but it turned out to be. And for me, it's been figuring out how does everything fit back into my life again with a new workplace, with a new role, with new clients, with new friends, trying to figure out, where do priorities lie, and how to maneuver, where does everything rank, and how to give everything the attention that it needs to make, the new settlement, if you will. I guess the best fit for myself. And you know, it for myself anyway, it felt like, you know, I think, you know, echoing what I don't remember her name, what someone else said, I think it's really circumstantial. I would hope that, you know, after being in one place for at least 1 year, I'll be in a better position to figure out how Rotary really fits into my life. But, you know, the first year of settling into a new place, I feel like it's really been about family and friends and work and how do those things all fit together.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Other questions from the attendees? Michael?
Yeah, I'll jump in to Rachel and the other Rotaractors, Haley, that have Rotaract experience. What would you think about the possibility of a Rotaract E-Club, and what do you think of the concept of a Rotary E-Club? Let's go with Haley.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, I'm not educated as to what an E-Club, I guess how the inner workings of an E-Club actually work, which I think that's, in my opinion, step one is educating people how an E-Club works. And I guess I'm to my extent, I don't know how people are actually involved and how you actually volunteer and how you actually like contribute to this club other than joining an online meeting. So I guess I would have to learn a whole lot more to really know if that's something feasible or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a way to make connections, global connections, and this is the way E-Clubs meet, many of them using Zoom. And there are a lot of ways to just make that connection, and Zoom makes it so easy to do that. Because my E-Club has been considering the possibility of looking into starting an E-Club for Rotaract. And because we have 61 members on 6 continents, we might be able to make that work.
There is a Rotaract club in the world. Yeah. We're getting close to the end. I like to make an observation here before we go, if nobody else has any questions. I noticed from especially some of our participants, our panelists tonight, the similarities in the volunteer work that they do, the needs, their circumstances. And I'm just wondering, what would it be like if those of you that are so similar, like in particular Andrea and Rachel and even Haley, if we connect the 3 of you together and see if there is a possibility that our club would accept something like you each doing a project in your community and let us know about it and become, I'm not using the word members, but somehow associates of our clubs. And if our club would have it in our budget to assist you with your project. So, and do it in the name of the Rotary E-Club. I don't have the authority to approve something like that, but I'd just like to explore that idea and hear from you how you would feel about something like that. If there is an interest, I would like to take that to our membership and to our board in particular. Would one of you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I think that one of the biggest things that I guess I haven't touched on yet, I thought that it would come up, but the age demographic of the people that I tend to volunteer alongside and lead projects with are, they contribute the most in like manpower. We contribute, our best assets to me right now, my best asset is my time. And I don't necessarily have the financial capabilities as of say my parents could give, or so I don't necessarily think that money is something that would help a project. It's obviously a huge factor, but it's not necessarily the only thing that that need to do a project here. I have always had a committee, or been able to get a committee and wrangle up my friends or family or whatever. And to me, that's been a lot more beneficial than having a budget, because usually in a Rotary Club, we don't have a budget, and you have to kind of create that within yourself, or sponsorship, or however it. So I would be interested in figuring out more, but I think one of my biggest concerns is not having like a committee or help behind whichever project here on the ground here, I guess.
Yeah, great. I really like your, helps me explain your needs and your thoughts. Does anybody else like to comment on that?
Yeah, I like to say something about that. That, we have committees and we meet virtually. I mean, that is the thing. We're sitting around a table like today, right now, it's like we're sitting around a table. One of the things that is different between e-clubs and Terra clubs, as we, refer to them, is the actual individual contact by a handshake and sitting around and having that interaction. That is something that we all struggle with, I think, all the Rotarians that are present here. From a structural point of view, to do a project, it is much easier to meet when you're online like we are now than versus, for instance, when you are in a Terra club, because you say, okay, and that's what I liked about Rotary when I joined, which was not until I had the time that I could spend 110% of my time that I wanted to spend. That's what I liked, because every week we would meet and I know that I would be able to talk to somebody about a project or a problem or an issue that we were working on. So those are some of the differences that we have to struggle with. One other question I have that came up is, are we maybe pushing the younger generation too much to join? Because in general, do we have a number of when the average Rotarian became a member of a Rotary Club? I think it used to be much later, when we were more settled in life, for that matter too. Just a question to throw out for maybe some other event.
If I could just comment on sort of that topic, one thing I think that might be a bit of a hurdle for younger members is the overwhelming of our membership. In our local club is getting near their ending stages, and they're wanting to phase out in some of the big communities they're a part of, and I think that they do have big expectations for us coming in. It's just overwhelming. If someone comes in as a new member, they don't want to, they may not want to be ready to go onto an executive, within the next year or two, or take on some very, very large projects. And so it's just that fine line of trying to phase them in where you don't scare them away, I guess, in lack of better terms.
Of course. Dylan, you had your finger up.
Sorry, if I could just comment quick. I actually have kind of an opposite perspective to Sean. I think that it's not a matter of, are you pushing youth too hard? It's, are you showing youth the why, and are you showing youth the purpose of Rotary? And I think it's conveying that message way more than pushing youth. Youth have boundaries way further than you and I could push, and that's not something that that could be taken lightly, but it's showing them the purpose of why they would be a part of the organization, why they would serve the community they're serving, and that will push themselves into it. I think that for me, I have held leadership roles, and I find myself naturally in leadership positions, and some of the Rotary clubs that I have attended their meetings or learned more about their club, they didn't really even want to consider me to lead projects, and they would kind of say, oh, that maybe later in your kind of Rotary career, or maybe in a few years. And to me, I'm not a backseat kind of person. Like I'm very much full tilt in the things that I'm involved in. And so I didn't necessarily find the communication for me to get involved to the level I wanted to be involved in was transparent enough to me. And that's kind of deterred me away from that. like I also think that there tends to be like an unconscious bias of my age, my gender, my those kind of things that are barriers that a different generation don't consider.
Did you, Haley, did tonight's presentation and discussion give you a better understanding of the why that you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have been involved with Rotary for years, and I wouldn't say I necessarily need to reinstate my why and my purpose. I am very passionate and love Rotary, but it's how do I share that passion with people who know nothing about Rotary, and how do I share that love and this organization with my community and my my fellow university students or whatever it is. How can I get my age demographic involved? And I think it's conveying that message, not necessarily striking it within myself.
Thank you, Haley. Let's have
You just went mute. I don't know if I meant to do that. Anyway, if you're all hearing me, I have a couple of observations to make. The first one is that for years, we as Rotarians are told in meetings and in gatherings that the next generation coming up can't be tarred with the same brush. That you can't say that the next generation is as good as the one that went before, or they don't care as much about telemissionary or altruistic pursuits. That's just not the case. We as Rotarians know that better than anyone. We know, for example, that when we have school awards for doing community projects, or when we cast about and find interesting people to join Rotaract, that there's an abundance of good talent out there, people that want to do good in this world, and that is a very heartening thing for all of us as the older generation. The second observation I want to make is the consistent theme that I've heard tonight about these younger people who have a desire to do good things in their communities and in the world, is that they're more interested in doing rather than perpetuating an organization, if I can put it that way. And we as older Rotarians, we've been dyed in the wool in knowing how the organization works and perpetuating it. And to a certain extent, there's a good reason for that, because Rotary as an international organization has to rely on the nuts and bolts of meetings and dues and all the rest of those things to do the good things it does. But the coming generation, and I've heard this more than once in the last 10 or 15 years, wants to do. And it behooves us as the older Rotarian generation to provide facilities for the younger generation to do, and not necessarily labor them with the organizational aspects until they're ready to do that. And there comes a time in all of our lives when we want to do more organization and we haven't got necessarily the same passion for the doing. So that's the kind of thing that I think we need to strike as a good balance. The old analogy of there are many parts to a body is applicable here. And to a certain extent, the organizational side is the head, but you also have to have the hands and the feet doing the actual on-the-ground work. And that's why we involve our kids as Rotarians in coming out to, load bark mulch onto trailers, or help clean up the parking lots around rest homes and things like that, is so they can learn how to do. And I applaud all of you for the things that you're doing, and I'm hoping that one day we can co-opt you into helping us out in the larger Rotary family. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan, and thank you to all the participants. And we're going to wrap this up, and I turn it back over to Peter, I guess. Yep.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for a novel approach. Thanks to Ellie to come up with this idea to bring the panelists in. And I hope this is not the last time we have this kind of a meeting. I hope that both the panelists and the gray-haired Rotarians and those that dye their hair you know, we'll continue to pursue this and look at the different possibilities. We're just starting to touch on that, and we all have to get to know and then understand each other and the needs that we have. So again, I'd like to thank specifically Ellie and Doug for organizing this component. I'd like to especially thank Marcella and Haley and Rachel and Sean and Andrea for being here and participating, and everybody else from around the world that took the time to join our meeting. Thank you all very much. And this is all being recorded and will be on our website, on YouTube, where you can find all the fellowship assemblies. So have a great evening, and thank you so much for being here.
One more word.
Ellie,
I will follow up.
Ellie has to have the last word, obviously.
No, you can have the last one after me. I will follow up with all the participants and ask more information from them. But we will be seeing Marcella in 3 days. She happens to be our daughter.
Good.
That was a surprise. See, you get the last word, Peter. Good.
All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
Good night, all.
Great
and
day,
especially
whatever you
in Angola, the most beautiful spot in the world.
We should close with the 4-way test of the things that we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thanks for leading that, Kitty.
Good evening.
Good night, all.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.